In a world that just never stops buzzing, with notifications constantly pinging and emails piling up, there is a powerful method to cut through all that noise and get extraordinary results. So today, we're diving into the big ideas from Cal Newport's game-changing book, Deep Work.
But first, let me ask you something that, well, it might hit a little close to home. We all tend to wear our busyness like a badge of honor, right? But what if it's actually a trap? What if all that constant motion is the very thing holding us back from doing our most important work?
Well, that trap actually has a name, and it's the central problem of our modern work lives, this seductive, absolutely endless cycle of what's called shallow work. This right here perfectly frames the two worlds we live in. On one side, you have deep work. This is when you're in the zone, totally focused, solving hard problems, creating something new, you're pushing your skills to the absolute limit. And on the other side, you've got shallow work. Think answering emails, hopping on yet another status update meeting, posting on social media. These things feel productive, sure, but they're low value, anyone can do them, and they keep us busy, not effective.
So what's feeding this epidemic of shallow work? Well, Newport points to a few key enemies of focus. You've got open offices, which sure, they were designed for collaboration, but they often just become distraction factories. You've got constant instant messaging that demands an immediate response, completely shattering your concentration. And of course, that ever-present pressure to be visible and active online. But underneath it all is something Newport calls the principle of least resistance. And it's simple. Without clear goals, our brains will naturally just drift toward the easiest thing on the to-do list, which is almost always the shallow stuff.
And this leads us to this huge psychological trap we're all in. For a lot of us in knowledge work, it's actually really hard to measure what real productivity even looks like. So what do? We use busyness as a stand-in, a proxy. Rapidly firing off emails looks like work, so we trick ourselves into believing it is the work. But it's just a shadow of real progress.
Okay, enough about the problem. Let's talk about the solution. Let's get into why deep work isn't just a nice little productivity hack, but a genuine modern-day superpower.
Newport argues that to really thrive in today's economy, you need two core abilities. Number one, you have to be able to learn complicated things fast. And number two, you need to be able to produce work at an elite level. We're talking top-tier quality, and you've got to do it quickly.
And here's where it all connects. Deep work is the engine that builds both of those skills. It's that simple. You can't master a complex programming language by checking email every 5 minutes. You can't write a brilliant strategy document when half your brain is waiting for a Slack notification. Intense, single-minded focus is the only way to get there. And you know what? There's a scientific reason for this. It's a concept called attention residue. Basically, when you switch from one task to another, a piece of your brain doesn't make the jump with you. It's still stuck thinking about the last thing you were doing. This residue acts like a mental drag on your performance. It means that if you're constantly switching contexts, you are literally never operating at your full intellectual capacity.
And this brings us to a huge paradox and a massive opportunity. The modern economy increasingly rewards the kind of value that only deep work can create, yet our workplaces are practically designed to prevent us from doing it. This makes the ability to go deep incredibly rare. And in any market, what's rare is valuable.
Okay, so how do we actually do this? How do we get this superpower? Let's get practical and look at the actual rules for building a deep work practice.
Now, Newport is clear there is no one-size-fits-all model here. He lays out 4 different philosophies you can adopt. The monastic approach is the most extreme. Think of a novelist who basically becomes a hermit to write their book. Then there's bimodal, where you split your time. Maybe 4 days a week are for deep work, and 1 day is for everything else. The rhythmic approach is all about making it a simple daily habit, like setting aside the first 90 minutes of every morning, no exceptions. And finally, there's the journalistic approach, which is for people with really unpredictable schedules, where you just learn to squeeze in deep work whenever a block of time opens up. The key isn't which one you pick, it's that you consciously pick one and commit to it.
Now, here's a tactic that is just incredibly powerful no matter which philosophy you choose. It's called fixed schedule productivity. Instead of just working until the work is done, you decide ahead of time, I will stop work at 5 p.m., period. This simple constraint forces you to be absolutely ruthless with your time. It makes you ask, given my limited hours, what is the most important thing I can do? And the answer is almost always deep work. And look, this isn't just some theory. The company 37 Signals, which you probably know as Basecamp, they famously experimented with a 4-day work week. And you know what they found? Productivity didn't drop at all. Why? Because constraints work. This quote says it all.
Having fewer hours forces you to squeeze the fat, all that shallow stuff out of your week.
Ultimately, your ability to concentrate is like a muscle. And if you never let yourself be bored, if you pull out your phone at every red light or every moment you're waiting in line, that muscle just gets weaker and weaker. You have to actively train it. Embrace a little boredom. Schedule your breaks from focus, not from distraction. It's this consistent mental strain that builds your capacity for the kind of deep work that truly matters.
And the reward for all this effort, it isn't just about getting a promotion or a bigger paycheck. It's something much, much more profound.
This is about getting into what psychologists call a state of flow. Deep work is the gateway to that feeling of human flourishing, where you're so immersed in a challenging task that you completely lose track of time. It's about producing work that represents the absolute best you are capable of creating.
And that, right there, is the ultimate point. A commitment to deep work doesn't just make you better at your job. It totally transforms your experience of life. It replaces the frantic, anxious energy of shallow business with a deep sense of purpose, meaning, and true fulfillment.
So I'll just leave you with this final thought. Forget about trying to do some massive life overhaul for a moment. Just ask yourself this: what is one small, shallow task, one meeting you can decline, one notification you can turn off, that you can eliminate starting this week to make just a little more room for what truly matters?